I met her on the coldest night of my life. Snow fell over the city like ashes, and my fingers shook as I clutched the folder that could save my career, or end it. Evelyn Frost stood at the head of the long glass table, her expression unreadable, her presence sharper than the air itself. Everyone called her the Ice Queen. I didn't believe in titles, but the moment she looked at me, I understood why. "Mr. Hale," she said, voice calm as glass, "do you have something worth saying? Or are you here to waste my time?" "I have data proving your projections are wrong," I said, heart pounding. "If you push the merger now, you'll lose 70 million. A few executives gasped. Daniel Cross, my senior, smirked beside me. "Careful, rookie. You're talking to the CEO." "I'm talking to someone who values results," I replied, refusing to look away from her. Evelyn tilted her head slightly. "Continue." I walked her through the numbers, my voice steady though my palms sweated. Every click of my pen echoed like thunder in that frozen room. When I finished, she stared at me for a long time before saying softly, "Everyone leave." Except him, the others filed out. Daniel shot me a glare, whispering, "Enjoy unemployment, hero." When the door closed, silence wrapped around us. She leaned against the table, arms crossed. "You challenged me in front of my board." "I challenged a mistake," I said. "If I'm wrong, fire me." Her lips curved, barely. "And if you're right? Then you hire me," I said, pulse racing. "Permanently." She studied me like a puzzle. "You're bold." "I'm honest," I said quietly. She walked closer, heels clicking like a metronome. "Honesty is a luxury in my world, Mr. Hale, but you're either reckless or sincere enough to survive it. I'll take that as a compliment." "Don't." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Compliments soften people. Her tone should have scared me, but it didn't. It fascinated me. "Maybe you could use some softening," I said before I could stop myself. Her gaze sharpened. "Is that your professional opinion?" I swallowed hard. "Personal observation." For a moment, the corners of her mouth twitched, as if she almost smiled. But then it was gone. "You'll start Monday. Sophie will send the details. That's it? That's it." She turned toward the window, the city lights reflecting against the frost on the glass. "And Noah, don't mistake proximity for favor. I hire minds, not hearts." I nodded, though something in her words lingered. "Understood." "Good. Now go before I change my mind." Outside her office, Daniel waited with folded arms.
"You think you impressed her?"
"I didn't try to." He laughed under his breath. "You'll learn." Everyone tries to impress Evelyn Frost, and everyone fails. Sophie Lynn, her assistant, stepped out holding a thin smile. "Mr. Hale, congratulations. You're the first person she's hired on the spot," Daniel's smirk faltered.
"Really?"
Sophie nodded. She said, "He's different." When she left, Daniel muttered, "Different doesn't last long around her." I didn't respond. My mind replayed her voice, the way she said my name, cold, precise, unforgettable. Over the next few weeks, I learned what working under Evelyn meant. She demanded perfection, praised rarely, and destroyed excuses with a single glance. Yet beneath her precision, I saw flickers of something else. Loneliness, maybe, or fear. Once, during a late meeting, I found her staring at the city skyline long after the others had left. I hesitated before asking, "Do you ever get tired of fighting everyone?" She didn't look at me. "You assume I'm fighting, aren't you?" Her reflection in the glass shifted slightly. "I'm surviving. There's a difference." I wanted to ask more, but her tone warned me not to. Still, as I walked away, she said softly, "You shouldn't care so much about things that aren't your problem." "I can't help it," I said. "Then you'll break." "Maybe. But at least I'll break trying." That made her turn to face me fully for the first time. Her eyes, ice blue and steady, searched mine. Then she said almost quietly, "You're different, Noah," and I didn't know whether to feel proud or afraid. When Evelyn proposed, I thought she was joking. "It makes sense," she said calmly, sipping black coffee in her office. "A merger of minds. You understand me more than anyone." "Marriage isn't a business deal," I said. "For most people, maybe. For me, it's a structure, a partnership that benefits both." I tried to laugh. "You're serious," she nodded once. "Completely. You'll have security, I'll have stability. Emotions complicate logic. Isn't that the point?" I asked. "To feel something?" Her gaze didn't waver. Feeling Cloud's judgment, I should have walked away. But something about her certainty pulled me in. "All right," I said finally. "Let's build your merger." She blinked, surprised. "Just like that? You'll find I don't like wasting time either." That's how our marriage began. Signatures on paper, not vows under stars. The ceremony was small. No music, no guests, just two people agreeing to coexist. Daniel joked at the office. "You married the Ice Queen? Brave man. Hope you brought gloves." I smiled, but his words lingered. Our life together was efficient. She worked late. I waited. She preferred silence to conversation. I learned to read her in glances and pauses. Some nights I'd cook dinner and watch her review reports under dim light. "You should eat," I'd say. "I will. You said that an hour ago." She'd look up. "Time is subjective when you're solving problems." "Maybe your problem is forgetting you're human." Her lips twitched. "You think I'm not?" "Sometimes I wonder." "Then stop wondering," she'd reply, returning to her laptop. I told myself she cared in her own way. When she placed a hand on my shoulder before leaving for work, I convinced myself it meant something. But one night, it all changed. We were arguing again about trust. She'd canceled another dinner, leaving me alone with half-eaten food and cold plates. When she came home, I asked, "Do you even want this marriage?" "I told you why we married." "That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters." I clenched my fists. "You never feel anything, do you?" She froze. For a moment, I thought she'd walk away like always. Instead, she whispered, "Say that again." I said, "You never—" "No," she interrupted, eyes wide. "You didn't say it. You thought it." My heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" She stepped closer. "I heard you, in my head. Clear as your voice now." "That's impossible." Her breathing quickened. "Then explain why your words echoed in my mind before you spoke them." I stared at her, trying to find logic in her tone, but she looked terrified, something I'd never seen before. "Evelyn, are you okay?" She shook her head. "Don't patronize me. Say something, anything." "Fine," I said quietly. "I'm thinking this is insane," she flinched. There it is again. My chest tightened. "You're serious." Dead serious. Her eyes darted around the room. "Do it again. Think something." I hesitated, then thought, "You look scared." Her lips parted. "I'm not scared." "You just answered me." "No, I didn't. You thought that." I backed away. "Evelyn, this isn't normal." She pressed her hands against her temples. "I don't understand it. It's like your thoughts are loud." "Loud?" "Yes, they hurt." She looked up, her voice trembling. "How long have you been thinking like this?" "Like what?" "That I don't feel anything." I sighed. "Since the day you stopped trying." Her shoulders dropped. "I never stopped. I just never knew how." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was heavier than any argument. Finally, she said, "I can't hear you now. It comes and goes." I rubbed my face. "This is crazy," she laughed weakly. "You married crazy." "Not like this." Her laughter faded. "Maybe this is punishment. Maybe I was never meant to keep secrets." I walked closer, hesitating before touching her arm. "If you really can hear me." "What am I thinking now?" She met my eyes. "You're scared. Not of me, but of what this means." She was right. I was terrified. Not of her ability, but of the fact that she could finally see everything I'd hidden. I whispered, "Then tell me something, Evelyn."
Can you hear this?
"I love you." Her breath hitched. "Don't say that." I didn't. She turned away, covering her mouth. "Stop thinking it." "I can't." Her voice broke. "You'll drown me." "I'll try to think quieter." She laughed through tears. "That's not how minds work." I wanted to hold her, to tell her everything would be fine, but I couldn't move. She stood there, trembling, the Ice Queen melting in silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "I don't know if this is a gift or a curse. Maybe it's both." She looked up at me, eyes shining with something I'd never seen before. Fear. Longing, maybe love. "Noah," she whispered, "if I can hear your thoughts, will you still love me when I know all of them?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because in that moment, even I didn't know. I tried to hide my thoughts. I failed every time. The harder I tried not to think about something, the louder it became in my head, and she always heard it. One morning, she looked up from her coffee and said, You don't have to keep apologizing in your mind. Noah, I didn't say anything. You don't have to. It's exhausting. I'm sorry, I said. There you go again, she muttered. I rubbed my forehead. Then what do you want me to do? Stop thinking? That would be ideal, she said flatly. Then you'd hate that too. You'd say I'm shutting you out, she sighed, placing her cup down. You don't get it. It's not just noise, it's you, all the time, everywhere. I leaned against the counter. You wanted honesty. Now you've got it 24/7. I didn't ask for your unfiltered mind, Noah. I just wanted understanding. You can literally hear my thoughts, Evelyn. You understand me better than anyone. Her eyes flicked toward me. Then why do I still feel like a stranger? I didn't answer. The truth echoed in my head, because you keep walls higher than mine. She flinched before turning away. See? She whispered. You say you trust me, but you don't. It's not that. It's exactly that. I walked closer, lowering my voice. Then tell me, how do I stop being afraid when every thought can hurt you? She didn't respond. The silence between us was heavier than words. Later that week, Daniel visited for a project meeting. I didn't mean to think anything, but when I saw the way she spoke to him, calm, focused, distant yet familiar, I couldn't stop the thought. He used to look at her like that before I did. Her jaw tightened instantly. After Daniel left, she said quietly, You think I want him? I didn't say that. You thought it. Yeah, because I'm human. Her voice rose. You think I'd betray you like that? I don't know what you'd do anymore. She froze, breathing uneven. Then maybe you never knew me. I'm trying to, I said. But how do I get close to someone who hears every insecure thought I have before I can fix it? You don't fix it, Noah. You face it. I wanted to yell, but I couldn't. She looked like she'd already read the argument in my head. That night, she worked late in her office while I sat in bed, trying to think about nothing. Every time I focused on silence, my mind betrayed me. She's slipping away. She doesn't love me anymore. Maybe she never did. Her footsteps approached the door. I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep. She stopped beside me. I wish you'd stop thinking like that, she whispered. You make it harder to breathe. I turned toward her. Then tell me how to stop. You can't, she said. And I can't stop hearing you. We're both trapped, I sat up. Trapped in what? In each other, she said softly. Her eyes glistened under the dim light, and for a moment, I saw the woman beneath the armor, the one who wanted peace but didn't know how to find it. I just want to protect you, I said. She blinked. Say that again. I just want to protect you. Her shoulders relaxed. That one sounded real. It was. She smiled faintly. You should think like that more often. But peace didn't last. The next day, I met her at the office. Daniel was there again, joking about something, and I felt jealousy crawl up my throat before I could stop it. He still likes her. Evelyn's face hardened. Not again, Noah. I didn't mean... Then control it! I can't control what I think. Then control what you feel. Maybe if you stopped reading me like a book, I wouldn't feel cornered all the time. Her voice broke. You think I like this? Do you know what it's like to hear someone doubt you every second? I doubt because I care, I said. Because I'm scared of losing you. She stared at me, trembling. You already are. The words hit harder than any slap. She grabbed her coat and left the room. That night, silence filled the house again. She didn't come to bed. I lay there listening to the hum of the city outside, trying to think of nothing at all. But thoughts never stop when you need them to. She's gone. She'll leave for good. I ruined everything. The door opened slightly, and her shadow appeared in the hallway. For a second, I thought she'd come back. But she just stood there, silent, unreadable. Then she turned and walked away. I called out, Evelyn! She paused. Do you even love me? She asked softly. Or is it just the idea of saving me? I love you, I said quickly. Her voice cracked. Then why does your mind say otherwise? I didn't have an answer. She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes full of sadness I'd never seen before. Then she whispered, I wish I couldn't hear you. The door closed behind her, and that night she left our room without a word. I always believed business was built on trust. Turns out I was just building my own execution platform. It started with whispers, too soft to notice at first. Then louder. By the time I heard my name in the same sentence as leak, it was already too late. I barged into Evelyn's office. "Tell me it isn't true." She didn't even look up from her laptop. "Which part? The part where you and Daniel are launching a new project without me?" Her fingers paused on the keyboard. "You found out. You didn't think I would?" "I thought you'd be too busy doubting me to notice." "That's low, even for you." She closed her laptop slowly, meeting my eyes. "You've been thinking about leaving me anyway, Noah." My chest tightened. "So that's your justification? You hear a few stray thoughts and decide to stab me in the back?" "Don't twist this," she said. "This project was mine too," I cut in. "Every concept, every plan, every late night. And you just, replace me with Daniel?" She stood, voice sharp. "You're making it sound personal." "It is personal. It's business," she said. "You lost focus." "You let emotions cloud your judgment," I laughed bitterly. "Right. And Daniel's judgment is pure logic? He sees opportunity where you see threats." "He sees you," I snapped. Her silence confirmed it before her lips could. "So it's true," I whispered. "You and him." "Don't go there," she warned. I stepped closer. "Then look me in the eye and tell me you don't trust him more than me." Her gaze faltered. "It's not about trust." "It's always about trust." She exhaled, eyes cold. "I did what I had to do for the company." "For our company," I said. "We built this together." "You stopped building when you started doubting," she said softly. "You've been tearing it down from inside," my pulse pounded. "You've been hearing my pain for months, Evelyn. You just chose to ignore it." Her lips trembled, but her tone stayed even. "Pain isn't strategy, Noah." "That's what makes me human," I said. "You used to love that. Love doesn't keep investors from walking out, and betrayal does?" She looked away. "Daniel understands the stakes." "Of course he does," I said bitterly. "He's been waiting for this moment." The door opened behind me. Daniel walked in, wearing that smug grin I'd learned to hate. "Am I interrupting a marital dispute?" he said. "Or a business meltdown?" "Both," I replied. "Then let's make it official." He dropped a folder on her desk. "The board's voting on the restructuring today." I clenched my fists. "You mean my removal?" "Call it what you want," he said. "But you've been leaking data to our competitors and the board's losing patience." "That's a lie." "Then prove it." "I don't have to prove anything," I said. "You planted it." Evelyn looked between us. "Daniel, that's enough," he smirked. "Oh? You don't want him to know the full picture?" "What picture?" I demanded. "She knew about the vote," Daniel said casually. "She just didn't tell you." I turned to her. "You knew?" Her silence said everything. "Why?" I asked. "Why stand there and let them destroy me?" "Because fighting it would have made it worse," she said quietly. "For both of us." "There is no us anymore," I said. Daniel chuckled. "Well, that settles it. Shall we head to the meeting?" I wanted to hit him. Instead, I followed, numb. The boardroom felt colder than usual. Faces I'd once called partners now looked away. Daniel stood at the head of the table, enjoying every second. Evelyn sat beside him, expression unreadable. Daniel began. "Gentlemen, as you know, the recent leaks have compromised investor confidence. We propose restructuring leadership, effective immediately." One of the board members glanced at me. "Noah, do you have anything to say in your defense?" "Just this," I said, standing. "If I wanted to destroy this company, I'd let Daniel run it." A few uneasy chuckles. Daniel smiled wider. "Noted. Any objections?" "Silence. All in favor?" he said. Hands rose one by one, including Evelyn's. Something in me shattered. I stared at her. "You could have stopped this." "I couldn't," she whispered. "You wouldn't." Security entered the room. Daniel gestured toward me. "Escort Mr. Reed out." I stared him down. "You think you've won?" He leaned close, voice low. "I already did." She made sure of it. I looked at Evelyn one last time. Her face was calm, but her thoughts screamed through the silence. I could feel it even without her gift. "I'm sorry, but apologies don't rebuild what's been burned." As they led me out, flashes of memory flickered. Our first deal, our first night working till sunrise. Her laughter when success still meant something. All gone now. At the door, I stopped and said quietly, "For someone who hears thoughts, you sure stopped listening to mine when it mattered." Her eyes glistened. "You stopped believing in me first." "No," I said. "I stopped believing you cared," Daniel smirked. "Touching. Maybe you can turn that into a memoir." I ignored him. "Enjoy your empire," I told her. "Just remember, you didn't win it. You traded for it. Then the doors shut behind me. That was the day my career ended, and so did our marriage." The silence after ruin is the loudest thing I've ever heard. My world collapsed quietly. No explosions, no grand betrayals left to uncover. Just absence. The absence of purpose, of pride, of her. I lost everything, my job, my home, my reputation. My phone stopped ringing. Friends who once called me partner now avoided my name like a curse. I packed my life into 2 suitcases and moved into a 1-room apartment that smelled of dust and regret. I stared at the cracked ceiling most nights, listening to the hum of the fridge and wondering if she could still hear me. "Evelyn, do you still think about me?" I'd whisper into the dark. "Do you still hear my thoughts?" Sometimes I swore I felt a tug somewhere in my chest, like an echo answering back, but maybe that was just madness. One night, Daniel's voice came from the TV. He was giving an interview. "Our CEO, Evelyn Frost, has just led Frost Dynamics into a new era. The billion-dollar war is over. We won." Then she appeared, elegant, cold, flawless. "My ice queen. Evelyn, how does it feel to be the youngest CEO to complete a global merger of this scale?" the reporter asked. Her smile was perfect, her tone composed. "It's not about winning," she said. "It's about evolution." But her eyes told another story. I saw it. That faint flicker, that second of emptiness she tried to hide. I knew that look. I'd seen it every night when she thought I was asleep. I turned the volume up. "You don't sleep anymore, do you?" I murmured. "You never could after silence replaced my thoughts." Her image froze in my mind. The way she tilted her head when avoiding emotion, the way her lips pressed together before answering. Small, subtle tells that only I would notice. "You look powerful," I said to the screen. "But you look lonely too," I laughed softly. "Congratulations, Evelyn. You finally built the world you wanted. Perfect, controlled, untouchable." I paused, swallowing the ache in my throat. "You won! But you lost me." The words hung in the air. For a moment, the lights flickered. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. The television crackled for a second, as if the universe hesitated between coincidence and connection. I leaned closer, heart pounding. "If you can still hear me somehow." "I don't hate you." My voice cracked. "I just wish you'd listened when it mattered." Silence answered again, but it wasn't empty this time. It was heavy, alive. I closed my eyes and let the memories play. Her first smile, the warmth she tried to hide, the night she whispered my name when she thought I couldn't hear. I used to think strength was never needing anyone. Now I knew better. Strength was surviving after the person who once understood your soul stopped listening. The next morning, I walked outside for the first time in weeks. The city moved like nothing had happened. Cars rushing, people laughing. Life continuing without permission. I passed a billboard with her face on it. Evelyn Frost, the woman who redefined power. I stopped, staring up. "Do you remember when you said emotions were distractions?" I muttered. "I believed you once, but now I think you were just scared." A gust of wind brushed past, and for a second I imagined her whispering back, "So were you." I smiled sadly. Yeah, maybe I was. That night, I turned off the TV and sat by the window, watching the city lights blink like scattered thoughts. Somewhere out there, she was probably sitting in her penthouse office, staring out at the same city. Maybe she could still hear me, maybe she couldn't. Either way, I whispered one last time, "Good night, Evelyn." The silence that followed wasn't cruel anymore. It was peaceful. I never expected to see her again. 2 years had passed since everything burned down. My career, my trust, my heart. I'd built a quiet life, small but stable. Then came the knock. When I opened the door, Evelyn stood there. Same posture, same piercing eyes, only now they carried something new. Fear. "Noah," she said softly, "I can't stop hearing you." Even now, I froze. "That's impossible. You shouldn't still—" "I hear you when I sleep. When I work, even when I try not to." Her voice cracked. You never left my head. I stepped back, unsure whether to let her in or shut the door. You mean to tell me, after everything, you're still inside my mind? She nodded. No matter how far I ran, your voice never faded. I exhaled slowly. Maybe that's what guilt sounds like, she flinched. You think I came here for pity? I don't know why you came. You made it clear 2 years ago that I wasn't worth defending. I was wrong, she said quickly. Daniel, he betrayed me. He stole millions, vanished, and left the company bleeding. I crossed my arms. That's karma, Evelyn. You taught me logic over emotion. Guess it didn't protect you this time. Her eyes glistened. Do you think I don't know that? I lost everything. The board turned on me. The press called me a fraud. The empire I built is collapsing, I hesitated. Her voice trembled, her shoulders shook. The Ice Queen was melting. I motioned toward the couch. Sit down. She didn't move. I didn't come for comfort. Then why are you here? Her lips parted. Because I didn't know where else to go. I sighed, walking to the kitchen. Water? She nodded silently. When I handed her the glass, her fingers brushed mine. Cold, shaking. I don't need money, she whispered. I need peace. I need you, I laughed bitterly. You need me now? After destroying me? After standing silent while they dragged me out like a criminal? Her gaze dropped. I thought I was protecting you. By letting them ruin my life? I thought you'd fight back, she said weakly. You always did before. I did, I snapped. But I was fighting a war I didn't know existed. She looked up. You think I don't regret it? Regret doesn't erase betrayal. Her voice broke. I didn't know how to love you right, Noah. You were always noise in my head. Feelings I couldn't measure. You mean feelings you couldn't control? I said quietly. She nodded. Yes, and control was all I knew. We sat in silence. The ticking clock filled the room, steady and cruel. Finally, she said, I thought success would fill the emptiness. But the higher I climbed, the louder your voice became. I stared at her. What do you hear now? Her lips trembled. You're wondering if I deserve forgiveness. Do you? I don't know. I leaned forward. Then why come back? What do you want from me? I want the noise to stop, she whispered. I want to stop hearing your pain. Then maybe you should have listened when it mattered. I'm listening now. That's the problem, I said. Now doesn't matter. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't mean that. I mean every word. She shook her head. You still care. I can feel it. Caring isn't the same as trusting, I said. You burned that bridge, Evelyn. I can rebuild it. No, I said. You can't rebuild something you never learned to hold. Her voice trembled. Please, just tell me what you want me to do. I stood up. Leave. She looked shattered. You don't mean that either. Maybe not, I admitted. But I need to mean it. She rose slowly, setting the glass down. If I walk away now, I'll still hear you. Then let that be your punishment. She turned toward the door, stopping halfway. I never stopped loving you, she said, even when I didn't understand what love was. I swallowed hard. You don't get to say that now. Her hand rested on the doorknob. You're still in my head, Noah. And you'll stay out of mine, I said. She hesitated, then opened the door. Cold air swept in. I hope one day you find peace, she whispered. I already did, I said, the day you left. She looked at me one last time, eyes glistening, not with power, but with pain. Then she was gone. I stood there staring at the empty doorway. The silence that followed wasn't the same as before. It wasn't lonely. It was honest. For the first time in years, I didn't wonder if she could hear me. Because I knew she could. Working with Evelyn again felt like standing in the ruins of a battlefield, rebuilding the same walls that once caged us. Her empire was shattered, but not beyond repair. She'd lost everything except her pride, and somehow me. We spent long nights at her new office, buried in reports and strategy boards. But the real war wasn't on paper. It was between us. Between the words we said and the thoughts we couldn't hide. One evening, she looked up from her laptop. You're thinking too loud again, I smirked. You always say that when you don't like what you hear. Her gaze softened. Then stop thinking things that hurt. I can't, I said quietly. Not when you're sitting there pretending none of this still matters. She hesitated. It does matter. Then say it. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. I sighed. You can hear my mind, Evelyn. You know what I feel? She nodded slowly. I do, and it terrifies me. We went back to work in silence, yet her emotions rippled through the air. Tension, guilt, longing. Every time our eyes met, I could tell she was hearing something I hadn't said yet. When I thought I still love you, even after everything, her hands trembled. She didn't look up, but her voice broke. Stop thinking that. I can't, I said again. Tears glimmered in her eyes. You shouldn't. I don't deserve it. Maybe not. But love doesn't need your permission. She turned away, trying to hide the tears sliding down her cheek. You're cruel. No, I whispered. Just honest. For the first time, she didn't argue. Days turned into weeks. Together, we fought to reclaim the company Daniel had poisoned. Investors called daily, chaos spread through the boardroom, and yet, when she looked at me, something in her steadied. One night, she asked, "Why are you helping me?" Because it's what you would have done for me. Her eyes narrowed. You don't know that. Yes, I do. You let me fall once because you believed logic would fix it, but now you know logic doesn't heal anything. Her silence said I was right. We stayed late that night working side by side. When fatigue hit, I leaned back in my chair. You know, it's strange. The closer we get, the quieter my thoughts become. She gave a faint smile. That's because for the first time, you're not hiding anything. Maybe, I said. Or maybe it's because you finally stopped judging what you hear. She looked down, voice fragile. I never judged. I was just scared of feeling again. And now? Now I'm scared of losing you again. The air between us grew still. For the first time in years, she looked human. No power, no control, just Evelyn. Then, as if summoned by our fragile peace, Daniel walked through the door. He looked disheveled, desperate. Evelyn, he gasped. I need your help, please. She stood instantly, every trace of warmth vanishing. You have no right to be here. Listen, he said, holding up his hands. The authorities are after me. The money, it's gone. The partners turned on me. I have nowhere else to go. I rose slowly. You should have thought about that before betraying her. He glared at me.
You think you're better than me, Noah?
You were just a pawn in her game. Maybe, I said, but at least I didn't sell my soul for a bonus. Evelyn, Daniel begged, ignoring me. I made mistakes, but I can help fix this. If we work together again, she cut him off sharply. Work with you? After what you did? He took a step closer. You need me. You don't have anyone else. I moved between them. She has me, he laughed bitterly. You? The man she destroyed? You'll just end up broken again. Evelyn's voice shook. Leave, Daniel. Please, he whispered. Don't do this. I'll turn myself in if you help me, just once more. I could feel her hesitation, the conflict inside her mind echoing faintly against my own thoughts. She wanted justice, but feared becoming cruel. She looked at me, her eyes asking the question she didn't dare say aloud. This time, I didn't hesitate. Let him face what he did, I said firmly. No mercy this time. Her lips parted, trembling. You're sure? Yes, I said. Because forgiving him won't fix you, but letting him fall might free you. She stared at me for a long moment, tears gathering again. Then she nodded. Daniel's face fell. Evelyn, please, she turned away. Security will be here soon. You should go before they drag you out. He cursed under his breath, then stormed toward the exit. You'll regret this. The door slammed shut. The moment he was gone, Evelyn collapsed into her chair, breathing shakily. It's over. I crouched beside her. No, I said. It's just beginning. She looked at me with tear-streaked cheeks. You knew what I needed before I did. I smiled faintly. You didn't have to hear it this time. Her voice broke. Why are you still here, Noah? Because you finally stopped being the Ice Queen, I said. And I've been waiting to meet the real you. She reached out, hesitating before her fingers brushed mine. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, I said softly. But you still have me. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, her mind fell silent. And in that quiet, I realized something. Love wasn't about hearing each other's thoughts. It was about choosing to stay, even when the silence said everything. The morning Daniel was arrested, the city buzzed like it had won a war. News vans parked outside the courthouse, cameras flashing as if justice itself was a celebrity. I watched from the glass walls of Evelyn's office, the skyline glowing gold behind her. She stood beside me, calm as ever, arms crossed. "It's strange," she murmured. "I thought I'd feel satisfaction. You don't?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "Just relief." I studied her reflection. "Relief means you're finally free," she glanced at me. "No, Noah. I was free the moment I stopped running from you." Before I could reply, her assistant burst in. "The press is ready, Ms. Voss." Evelyn nodded, her voice smooth. "Let's give them their headline." The conference room overflowed with reporters. Flashbulbs lit up every step she took. She stood tall at the podium, poised, elegant, untouchable, the ice queen everyone knew. But when she spoke, something had changed. "Today," she began, "marks not the fall of corruption, but the rise of accountability. This victory wasn't mine alone." Someone shouted, "Then whose was it?" She turned toward me, her eyes warm. "It was his." A murmur rippled through the room. I froze, caught between disbelief and pride. She continued, "Noah Hale, my partner, my conscience, my reminder that silence can be louder than ambition." Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras flashed again, brighter than before. I wanted to disappear, but she reached for my hand beneath the table. Her grip was firm, grounding. When the questions began, I stayed quiet. She answered each with precision, crediting me every chance she got. I'd spent years hiding behind her brilliance. Now she pulled me into the light without asking if I wanted it. After the final question, she leaned toward me and whispered, "Your thoughts saved me, Noah." I smiled faintly. "You heard them all, huh?" "Everyone," she said softly. The conference ended in chaos, reporters shouting, microphones chasing us. But when we slipped into the back hallway, away from the noise, her shoulders dropped. "First time I've seen you smile in public?" I teased. She gave a quiet laugh. "First time I've had a reason to." Outside, the crowd chanted her name. Evelyn Voss, billion-dollar genius. I watched her take it in, calm, almost serene. For years, her world revolved around power and control. Now she stood in the middle of triumph and didn't look cold anymore. As the cameras turned away, she leaned closer. "You're thinking too much again," I grinned. "You still can't resist reading me," she shrugged lightly. "Old habits die hard. What did I think this time?" "That you're proud of me," I chuckled. "You don't need to read minds for that one." Her laughter softened into something fragile. "And that you still don't believe you deserve credit." I paused. "Maybe because it was never about credit." She tilted her head. "Then what was it about?" "Peace," I said simply. "For both of us." We walked outside into the evening light. The wind carried fragments of applause, but it all felt distant. She reached for my hand again, this time without hesitation. "You know," she said quietly, "I never realized how lonely success was until I shared it. And it feels lighter now," I smiled. "That's called living." She looked at me, eyes searching. "Do you still hear me, Noah?" "Always," I said. But now it's quieter. "Like you don't need me to translate your heart anymore." Her lips curved faintly. "Maybe because it finally speaks your language." I laughed under my breath. "You're poetic when you win." "I'm human when I love," she corrected. The car arrived. We climbed in, the noise of the city fading behind tinted glass. For the first time in forever, she rested her head on my shoulder. "Does it ever feel real to you?" she asked. "What?" "This, us, redemption, peace." I thought for a moment. "It feels earned," she smiled against my arm. "Then it's real." We sat in silence as the car rolled through the city. Neon lights danced across her face, bright, alive, warm. The woman beside me wasn't the Ice Queen anymore. She was Evelyn, fragile and fierce all at once. When we reached her penthouse, she didn't move right away. She just stared at the city below. "I used to look down and see competition," she said. "Now I just see people." "That's a good change." She turned toward me, her eyes shimmering. "You changed me, Noah," I shook my head. "You changed yourself. I just stood close enough to watch." She took a breath, hesitating. Something flickered in her gaze, fear maybe, or something deeper. "What is it?" I asked. She smiled faintly, but her hands trembled. "There's something I need to tell you." My heart skipped. "Evelyn?" She swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm pregnant." For a second, everything inside me stopped. The air vanished, the world blurred, and all I could hear was the echo of those words. What? She laughed nervously. I didn't plan to tell you today. But after everything, I couldn't keep it to myself. My pulse hammered. You're serious? She nodded. Very. I leaned back, trying to breathe. Wow. That's all you're going to say? She asked, half laughing, half crying. I just didn't see it coming, I admitted. Neither did I, she said softly. But somehow it feels right. I looked at her. Really looked. No titles, no power, no walls. Just Evelyn, the woman who'd once been untouchable, now trembling with life. I reached for her hand again. Then I guess the universe finally gave us a different kind of war to fight. She smiled through her tears. A kinder one. And as she leaned against me, I felt it. The end of every storm. The start of something new. For the first time, my mind went completely silent, because some moments don't need thoughts to be heard. The night sky looked exactly the same as it did the last time we fought beneath it. Cold, clear, endless. Only now the silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. Evelyn leaned back on the bench beside me, her coat brushing against mine. Do you remember this place? She asked softly. I nodded. Every argument we ever had seemed to end under these same stars. She smiled faintly. Except tonight, I chuckled. Yeah, tonight we're just breathing. For a while we said nothing. The wind moved gently through the trees, and the city lights flickered below us like forgotten constellations. Then she whispered, I can't hear your thoughts anymore. I turned to her. You sound almost disappointed. She shrugged lightly. Maybe I am. It's strange after so long. The silence feels empty, I smiled. Maybe it's not silence. Maybe it's peace. Her eyes softened. Or maybe you finally learned how to hide from me. I shook my head. No, you just don't need to listen anymore. She raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because you already know everything I'd ever think, I said quietly. You finally know my heart. Evelyn laughed. A real, unguarded laugh that echoed through the park. It was the kind of sound I'd waited years to hear. I used to think you were impossible, she said. Too hopeful. Too forgiving. And now? I asked. She tilted her head. Now I think you're exactly what I needed to survive myself, I grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. She nudged my shoulder playfully. Don't push your luck. For a moment I just watched her. How the moonlight traced her face, how her smile no longer looked like armor. The Ice Queen was gone. All that remained was the woman I'd fallen for, the one who could finally feel without fear. I whispered, You look happy. I am. She said softly. For the first time, I don't hear noise in my head. No calculations, no doubt. Just quiet. I leaned closer. That quiet sounds like peace, she nodded. It does. We sat like that for a while. No words, no thoughts to intrude. Just heartbeats sinking under the sound of crickets and faraway traffic. Then she placed my hand against her belly. He's moving, she murmured. I felt it. Soft, tiny, real. Hey, little one, I said, my voice breaking. You picked a hell of a family to be born into. Evelyn smiled. He'll be loved. That's all that matters. I stared at her, my throat tight. You really believe that now? She looked at me, eyes shimmering. I used to think love was weakness, that it made people predictable. And now? Now I think it's the only thing that ever made me strong. Her words sank deep, warmer than the night air. I wanted to say something, anything, but my thoughts felt too big for language. So I just whispered, This is where we begin again. Evelyn closed her eyes, resting her forehead against mine. Then let's not waste it. The stars above us blurred into soft light. The same sky, the same world. But it felt different, I thought. This time I'll protect it. Her. Us. And for once, she didn't hear it, she felt it. Years later, the world still called her the Ice Queen. I used to correct them. Now I just smile. They'll never understand. Our daughter, Lily, ran around the garden chasing butterflies, her laughter filling the air like sunlight. Daddy, she won't stay still, she shouted. Maybe she's like your mom, I said, smiling. Always moving too fast for anyone to catch. Evelyn looked up from her book. You're calling me fast now? I grinned. In every sense of the word. She rolled her eyes, but the corners of her mouth curved. Still a fool, I see. Always your fool, I said quietly. Lily ran to Evelyn's side, holding a tiny yellow butterfly between her fingers. Look, Mama. I caught her! Evelyn leaned forward. Be gentle. Let her go. Why? I just found her, Lily pouted. Because love isn't about holding tight, Evelyn said softly. It's about letting things be free and trusting they'll come back. Lily frowned, thinking hard, then opened her hands. The butterfly fluttered into the sky. Do you think she'll come back? Evelyn smiled. If she wants to. I felt something twist inside me. That same old feeling, the echo of her voice in my mind. It wasn't words this time, just warmth. Later, when Lily went inside, I sat beside Evelyn on the porch. She poured tea into 2 cups and handed me one. You've gotten quiet, she said. I shrugged. Just remembering. Which part? The part where you could hear my thoughts, I said, half smiling. Sometimes I miss that. Evelyn tilted her head. Do you? Yeah, back then I didn't have to find the right words. You just knew. She took a slow sip. You never needed words, Noah. You wore your heart too loud for me to ignore. I chuckled. And yet you tried. I did, she admitted. But you never stopped trying either. The sun dipped low, painting her face in gold. I still couldn't believe how different she looked when she smiled. So human, so alive. I asked, Do you ever still hear me? She glanced at me, her eyes soft with memory. Sometimes. When you're thinking too loud, I laughed quietly. Then you must hear me all the time. Not as much as before, she said. You've learned to speak without sound. I nodded, my chest tightening. I guess we both have. For a moment, we said nothing. The only sound was the wind through the trees and the faint giggle of our daughter from inside. I whispered, Thank you. For what? For finding me when I was lost in my own silence, I said. For not giving up, her hand brushed mine. You're giving me too much credit. No, I murmured. You saved me, Evelyn, even when you didn't mean to. She looked at me with that same steady gaze that once terrified an entire boardroom. You saved me first, I smiled. Then maybe we're even. Not yet, she said softly. You still owe me a dance, I blinked. A dance? She stood, offering her hand. You promised me 1 year ago. You said when everything was over, we'd dance without fear. I laughed under my breath. You actually remembered that? I remember everything you never said, she whispered. I took her hand. Then let's make up for lost time. We swayed slowly on the porch. No music, just the sound of our breathing and the whisper of evening. Her head rested against my shoulder. I thought, this is it. The life I almost lost. When the wind brushed past us, I whispered, Thank you for finding me in my silence. Evelyn looked up, smiling faintly. Did you say something? Maybe, I said. She leaned in, eyes gleaming. I didn't hear it. Then she smiled wider, the kind of smile that melted every frozen wall she ever built. But I felt it.